So here we are. I'm with another interview, and I'm with a fighter I've actually met before in person. I'm with the UFC Featherweight, Jack Jenkins. So thank you so much for joining me.
Nah, you're welcome. Good to talk to you again, Benny P. Our story still does the rounds on social media every now and then, so good to reconnect.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. Do people still ask you if I'm sending you game plans and stuff like that?
Yeah, every now and then. I remember in Perth last time, they were asking about it in interviews all the time.
Yeah.
It was a big hit, but no, it's kind of died off a little now. Other things talking about my broken arm is a little bit more juicy to speak about now and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how is like all the injuries and stuff like that? Because was it an actual broken arm or was it like a torn ligament? Like what?
Yeah, so it was a dislocated elbow, and it sort of
Dislocated.
physiologically for your elbow to dislocate, you have to tear tendons. So I tore my extensor tendon, my LCL, and my LCL. So it was a fairly good job that I did of it, but I managed to avoid surgery, which was good. And then it was a sort of long and slow process back. Kind of got it to really good, and I was back full training a while ago, and then I sort of did another re-injury on it, which set me back probably a month or so, which was probably the main reason that I didn't get a fight in the first half of this year, just because I got set back a little bit there. But then we've been really diligent with the recovery up until now, and yeah, now it's going great. I think it's in a really good position. Perth is looking more and more likely for me by the day, and my training's going good. I think biggest thing for me, probably mentally, just switched on again. I think I had 4 fights in 11 months leading up to that injury in Sydney, and I was excited. I was really loving it, but your body kind of it takes a toll on your body and mentally as well, just being switched on for so long. So having a little bit of time off, I just feel refreshed. I feel good to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you think once you do fight again, do you think that will be in the back of your mind? Like, what if somebody tries another judo trip or something, or is that completely out of your arsenal to post now when you someone takes you down?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. Like I've lost fights before. I got armbarred once, which tore my extensor tendon a while ago. A guy named Jesse Medina. Then I've never been armbarred again. And then I got rear naked choked by a guy from Korea. And
Yeah,
it never bothered me. You're thinking about getting choked again. You just kind of work on fighting. You don't get to the UFC without just being comfortable working on your weaknesses. And it was a weakness that I had in making that mistake. So it's just about endeavoring to not make that mistake again.
yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, you're looking really good in that fight as well. Before he got that judo hip toss on you. I think it was a judo hip toss, wasn't it? I can't.
It was, yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah, judo.
Haragoshi, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking really good. Like I think that's the most switched on you've looked in a first round as well, because obviously you've won all the first rounds, but like I think that was the best you were looking until, he got that.
Yeah, oh, 100%, mate. And that's why it's like there's two different sides of it that you look at. So some people come up to me and and I understand what they're saying. Like they're being very gracious and they're saying, who cares, mate? You were winning that fight. Like that was a freak accident. Like, yeah, you should have
Yeah.
won that fight. You deserved it, blah, blah, blah. And I completely disagree with them, um, because the same way that a punch can knock you out, a throw can injure you.
Yeah.
Chepe just landed a great throw that I defended poorly. I absolutely lost that fight, beaten by a better man.
Yeah.
Um, but on the other end of that as well, people are like, oh, are you going to change anything? What are you going to do differently moving forward? And it's like, well, I'm going to do the same thing that I always do, work on my weaknesses and try and capitalize on my strengths. And like you said, if you look back on that fight at the first round in isolation, you go, well, Jack's looking as good as he's ever looked. So it's just about maintaining that sort of rhythm for me and keeping that going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like people can say, yeah, you're like, yeah, you were winning that fight, it was a fluke and everything. But at the end of the day, you still don't get your win bonus just because it was,
Yeah, yeah. I
fluky or
don't I
whatever.
don't make the money, and I've been on the sidelines for fucking 9 months now because of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and look at Chepe, he's doing well. He's had a just beat Morgan Charrier, who's a very
Yeah.
good fighter too. So we might get that rematch maybe when we both get to the top 15.
Yeah, definitely is. And has the UFC actually offered you any names, or has there been any names thrown at you?
Nah, no names. One person called me out. I think you might have seen it. That Gabriel Miranda. He fought on Perth
Yeah,
last time as well. And I am so keen for that fight. So keen. So,
yeah,
I've let my manager know, let the UFC know, to let them know. Come to Perth. Let's get it. So hopefully Gabriel Miranda wants to show up, and we can have that scrap.
yeah. I think that's a real good fight because he's like, I mean, you did want to fight. I don't know if I can say this, but you did want to fight Herbert Burns at one point, and he's sort of similar to Herbert in his way. Like he is a bit one-dimensional. He's got a bit of striking, but as we've seen against Shane Young, it was just grappling, and then against Benoit Saint Denis, he was just pretty much just a grappler. He doesn't really have too good of striking. So I feel like it's a good test for you, like
Yeah.
takedown defense wise, grappling defense wise.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I know he's got great weapons, and he's fought like very high level guys through his whole career. Like you look back through his record, he fought like Wagner Rocker and these guys early on. And he seems like a real like goer. Like he knows what his strengths are, and he's going to go to them. He's not
Yeah.
he's not playing around in any other range. But I think it's just a great fight for me and a great fight for the fans. The classic striker versus grappler matchup, and I like my chances there.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see that. And speaking of like your division, since you've fought last, there's been a changing of the champion. Obviously, Ilia Topuria is one, and we all know about what happened at Jacksonville. He took up the weight cutting room or something, didn't he? Like the sauna,
Yeah,
or what was it?
it wasn't even maybe him. It was just his team, just like very, very like selfish. I'm the man type of behavior. The kind of stuff that Aussies don't really like. Like, just
Yeah,
yeah, it was the fighters weigh in, right, and we're all dehydrated. We're all sitting there waiting, and it's a shared weigh-in room. There's a blue corner and a red corner, so you don't weigh in the same room. It's like a training room where they have calibrated scales, and it was the training room designated for all of us, and we're all sharing it. And I went down to check my weight to make sure my scales in my room that said I was on weight were the same as the calibrated scales. And obviously, you want to spend as little time out doing bullshit as you can before you get in. And I went to weigh in, and his team was standing at the front. No, brother, you can't come in. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't come in? I'm fucking weighing in. They go, oh, wait. Ilya's in there. Ilya's in there. And I get like he was probably getting his kid off because he struggles to make weight, right? He was probably getting his kid off to see how far away from weight he was. Whereas I don't struggle really to make the featherweight weight limit. So I was dehydrated, but I'm like, just let me in. And then I said, all right, I'll give you 2 minutes. But I was, and you're also like, you've been around a hotel during weight cut week. Fighters get
yeah,
like antsy. You're like, fucking, you don't want things to mess with your motion. You don't want things to get in your way. And I sat down
yeah,
and I was with my brother, and he probably had like 10 to 15 guys there with him, which is another thing that's annoying. Like, why are you walking around with a fucking gang of people? Um, and then they just fucking they ended up just coming out, and I was like, "Hey boys, see you later." And I have no issue. Yeah, like he's just a guy trying to live his dream the same as the rest of us. But I just thought, fucking, I would never try and block somebody else from using the fucking weight cut room.
yeah. It's actually funny you mentioned that the whole being at the fighter hotel because I remember being there when I came to see you, and I remember what's the Armenian guy, the guy who fought Josh Kalibau.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah. I
remember
don't know his
looking
name.
at him. I think his name's I can't even remember, but he was like death staring me for some reason. Him and his coach. I was like, what the fuck did I do? Like they were really
Yeah.
intense guys. I was like,
It's
fucking
just
hell.
some people just take themselves a bit too seriously, eh? It's like you
Yeah,
fucking fight in a cage for a living. You're not a big bad guy. Like fucking give me a
yeah,
spell.
yeah. Like literally and his coach was Ronda Rousey's old coach.
Yeah,
The head
yeah. Head movement,
movement
head
guy.
movement,
Yeah.
head movement.
When he was staring at me, I was so tempted to go head movement, but he probably would have gave me a smack, and I'm like, I don't really need that before UFC 284 because I was, I really wanted to watch the card, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. That's another
Yeah,
thing because if you're out of your depth there, you're gonna get beat up quick. It's a
yeah,
room you don't want to start a fight in.
and hey, he did say he could beat Jose Aldo a few years ago, so I'm not getting those problems.
No way.
Yeah, no way. Speaking of which, you're a former Eternal champion, obviously, and now another former Eternal champion this weekend is actually fighting for the UFC championship. Uh, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Steve Erceg versus Pantoja.
Uh, Mate, I just love Steve Erceg. I got asked this when we both won our belts on Eternal on the same night. I beat Diego Pereira and he beat Shannon Ross. It was like a triple header for title fights, and we got a couple photos out the back, and we actually shared the warm up room together. And his coach Wilksy, Steve himself, just the way they go about everything, I've got nothing but respect for him. And so I've been a big Steve Erceg fan from back in the Eternal days, and I think he's got all the tools and all the weapons to get it done. He's a star. So I'll be cheering him, and this is a big step up. So we'll see where his ceiling is, but I definitely don't see a world where Steve can't compete at the very highest level.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking at it, it just looks like a fantastic matchup for him. Like I know Pantoja's tough, but like on a technical scale, I feel like Erceg is tough. He's better technically. It's just Pantoja's grit and toughness is
Yeah,
the deciding factor. I feel
he's a
like.
marksman, Steve Erceg. Like he's
Yeah,
so accurate with the
yeah,
shots that he'll tap tap tap, and then when he wants to really hit you, he just hits you. Brilliant.
yeah. He's crazy. He's like people underestimate him because of there's the memes how he looks like Michael Scott from The Office and all this stuff, and he's
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
into it, which I love to see.
for sure.
But like people don't expect a guy looking like that to actually crack, knock people out or choke people out. Like he's fucking good everywhere. It feels like.
100%.
And then obviously your favorite fighter, I believe, growing up was Jose Aldo, and Jose is back. He's coming back to fight Jonathan Martinez. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that fight as well.
Yeah, I think like I don't know where Jose's at. Like I think this is this his has he announced that it's definitely his last fight?
No, so what I've seen is that he's talked about how he wants to go box on like the Jake Paul Mike Tyson card, but he can't actually. He's still locked into his UFC contract.
Right, right. Here's my thing. Like I think Jose Aldo, if he wants to go box and he says I'm done, like let him go. What else does he need to do in this sport? He like inspired a generation. He was the longest reigning featherweight title holder ever in terms of title defenses. Um, I just don't see why you wouldn't let him go. But I saw a meme that got put up of it's like the title of it was something like when Run This Town starts playing and Jose walks out at Rio, and it was like this kid just crying, saying like this is beautiful, man. And I agree 100%. I think if I was there, I would definitely be getting emotional about it because of the impact he's had on the sport.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that annoys me though is because originally it was meant to be him versus Dominic Cruz. Like that would have been such a cool send off for him if this
That
was
would have
his
been
last
great.
UFC fight. Because I don't know, Jonathan Martinez is a good prospect, but it just feels like such a like odd fight if this is going to be his last UFC fight.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, but if he is coming back for like a UFC run, I would love to see him versus Sean O'Malley. Like I feel like that would be like just a cool fight.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. It's just I
with
don't
the
know. Like
especially
once you start like if you're someone like Jose who relies on speed, once you start to lose a little bit of that speed, it becomes apparent very quickly,
yeah,
especially at that peak pointy end of the division. So
yeah, definitely. But he
hard to tell.
has he has been boxing. He did box 3 times last year. Like he's allowed to box, but he's not allowed to box on like Jake Paul cards or anything like that. I think that's what he said. So
Right.
he's in a weird position. He can only fight on
Well,
like
isn't
fight.
that what Jorge Masvidal said as well? That the UFC
Yeah,
is letting him box on the Diaz card or something, but not letting him on the Jake Paul card because they have
yeah,
beef. Which I don't
yeah.
know. The
That's
UFC
pretty
will
much
do.
it. Yeah,
The UFC will do what the UFC will do, won't they?
yeah. Yeah, they're tricky with it, but I guess it makes sense business wise. Why would you help Jake Paul out with anything, or especially with like if Jorge goes and loses to Jake Paul, and it's like, well, this guy was fighting for a belt 3 years ago or something like that. Like
Yeah,
he'll,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
bad look for us.
yeah. Yeah, fucking. I don't know. You got to respect what Jake Paul's done, because he's got a good mindset of everything. Like, yeah, I'll go knock out this UFC fighter, and then people think I'm legit, and then I'll go fight. Now he's fighting Mike Tyson, who's almost 60 years old. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's just like what's the biggest spectacle I can cause without actually fighting anybody good?
yeah, exactly. Like he fought Tommy Fury and he lost, and Tommy Fury, in my opinion, isn't like a great boxer in my like he's
Wouldn't be
good, but
wouldn't be top 30, 40 in the world, would he?
yeah, exactly. Like Jake Paul is literally Tommy Fury's best win as well. So it's like fucking
Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, it's just crazy. But I also wanted to ask, your coach Simon Carson, he doesn't hate me, does he? Because of
No,
the
not at all.
whole
Why is that? He doesn't hate
okay,
anyone.
I know. Because of all the everyone saying like, oh, what's Benny P gonna give him? Like, what's the advice and all that? And I feel bad. It's like fuck. Simon Carson's been there for you the whole time. He's the one doing everything. Every time I see all the comments and stuff like that, I was like, fuck. I hope his coach doesn't hate me.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. He understands it. It's a bit of tongue in cheek there as well, especially given all the spreadsheets that he runs up to get us ready for these fights. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He's not. He's never been in it for the limelight himself. So
Yeah,
he doesn't have any issues with it.
yeah. No, that's good. I thought I'd ask because I seen an interview with like Mitch Tinley a few like I think it was when you were fighting Jamal Emmers, and Mitch asked him about something to do with me, and I was like, yeah, I'm ecstatic or something like that. And I was like, oh fuck, he probably hates me, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, that's good then. Yeah, because he's a good like he was a good fighter as well. Like he fought that Brazilian guy and won as well, the jiu-jitsu guy, like on
Yeah, he
short
fought
notice.
Buchecha.
Buchecha, yeah.
He fought Buchecha on like a week a week or 2 weeks notice, and he had to bulk. He had to eat takeaway and lollies and shit every day to make the minimum weight for heavyweight because he's way too small. And then on top of that, he had all these injuries and stuff. He just thought it'd be a cool thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I mean, he might have lost, but like that, he's still a monster. Like he's a light. He was a light heavyweight, yeah, for like his whole
Yeah,
career. Yeah.
he was a good fighter in his own right. He probably just came to it a little bit late, but he's a very good coach. He's very organized. He's very dedicated to being the best coach that he can be. And I think the results for the gym sort of speak for themselves. We've got a pretty good win record and get put
Yeah.
in the right positions where we have the skill sets we need to win. So he's a great coach.
Yeah, you've got a good, like, good. You've got some really good teammates. Obviously, I think Khan Offley's left Absolute now, but he was there for.
Yeah, he's not left like in its entirety. He had to take a he didn't have to, but he went to Bali to work as sort of a coach at a gym over there. And it was more of a life decision as opposed to a decision to leave the gym. And he's still like he'll come back and train with us. Periodically when he has fights coming up and that sort of stuff. So he
Yeah.
he hasn't lost. He's still very much part of our team.
Okay.
It's just he's kind of maybe you'd call it like he's a satellite member of the team. He kind of like floats in and out a little bit.
Yeah, and then obviously you got Kakembo, he's a really good fighter.
Yeah, but here's something that, like you probably you wanna know something like I think Kikembo. I've always held Sam in very very high regard in terms of his talent and his ability. He has really this last I would say 3 4 months he's started to put it all together. He's changed a couple of things that he needed to change, and he's starting to look really good. So I would be surprised if you don't see him get a couple of wins on the trot here, and maybe end up here with his chance on Contender Series or something like that, because he's going to hit a new level this year.
Yeah, yeah, he's good, and like he looked really good against Abdallah Baeta as well. Like, and Baeta's like a monster in his own right as well.
Yeah,
And then you got younger guys coming up as well. Alistair Volts. How do you say his last name?
big Alistair Volders.
Yeah,
Yeah, Alistair's
Volts.
another one. He's very good. He's very good. He's got he's got a couple of things he needs to work on to sort of break through that next level. But he's a dog in the gym. He works as hard as anyone, so he'll get there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then I know he doesn't train at Absolute, but I know you've done some training with Harry Webb, and like that he's a fucking monster as well. Obviously, coming off that big KO of Abdallah Baeta.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
But because he's having some problems finding an opponent for his fight. Did you have to deal with anything like that when you were in the regional scene?
Probably not on the level that Harry is, because Harry just knocks people out, which is the deal problem Harry's dealing with.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shit going on with the thing that I didn't have to deal with a lot that is really prevalent at the moment is like promoters locking people in. So you've got to either be locked into Eternal or locked into Hex or locked into somewhere else,
Yeah.
and it's all just bullshit. Like it's all complete bullshit. I think you should fight where the best deal is, paying the best money for you. Period. And I understand these fight cards have to make money, so I'm not begrudging them for doing that. But the idea of locking someone into a contract in perpetuity when you're paying them two grand or 5 grand, like something like that, it's just crazy. Like it's
Yeah.
bizarre. So Harry's in this position where it struggles. My issues were more around uh, during COVID, getting fights and being let into different states and that sort of thing. But I didn't really have problems finding opponents. Like especially my last one, Rod made it very clear that he wanted to fight me. So that fight made itself. I never had that issue.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because yeah, like the exclusive contracts and everything like that. I feel like it's just really stupid to have on the regional scene. Like, there's not even like that much talent in all of Australia. So like excluding people from fighting each other just seems a bit ridiculous, in my opinion.
It's the dumbest shit ever. Seriously,
Yeah.
it's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, because like there's all these fights that should happen. Like obviously Krillin Sowkild and Harry Webb, that should be the fight that happens. The two best lightweights in the country. But
For sure, for sure. But I don't think that's probably the one, like, I don't know if those two want to fight each other. So both have probably claims to go into the next level. So
yeah, it's also a fight I don't want to see either because I like both guys and I'd like to see that fight in the UFC eventually. But
they're probably both good enough to not need to fight each other to get to the UFC. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They can probably both. They both had good amateur careers. They both had very strong pro careers. Um, but yeah, I think it may be Quillian. Rumor is Quillian might not long be for the regional scene anyway. He might have picked himself up an offer to go somewhere or something like that. And then Harry wouldn't be far behind, I would presume. I would be very surprised if I don't share a locker room with Harry in the near future.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was thinking Quillen's probably got something right because like all these lightweight fights have been announced in Eternal, like Domar Fan, yeah, Domar Fan versus Tim Rogers. Then it was Wes Kappa versus David Martinez. Like all these lightweight fights getting announced, but nothing for Quillen. So you'd
Yeah,
imagine like it's like a little Grand Prix or something going around.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing with the featherweight division.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit
Yeah,
of a vacuum at the top of the featherweight division at the moment because Abdullah's the man, but he's kind of ventured into lightweight and now probably needs a bit of time off. So a bit of a vacuum at the top. You got some of these really young guys coming through and some people who have been really inconsistent and haven't fought very often.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, just before we go, because obviously I think we've probably gone a bit over time here, but I just want to get your opinion on who's going to win that little Grand Prix because obviously there's what are the
Give me that. Can I have
fights?
the names again?
Yeah, yeah. So it's Sepsis Soleil. He's fighting a Brazilian guy, Gabriel. What's his name actually? I got to look it up because I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name actually. So Soleil. So George Mangos is fighting Dan Jones, who came back and lost to Soleil, and then Soleil's fighting Gabriel Scrapes. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, right.
Scrapes.
I don't know the other guy, but I think George Mangos is probably the best. Very talented, very calm, from a good stable, good gym. So probably put me money on George
Yeah,
Mangos, I reckon.
and then obviously Lockjaw's fighting. He's fighting Barber, but the winner of that, and I would
What a
imagine,
thrilling fight.
yeah, I know it's not the greatest fight. I would have preferred if they just like did him versus Abdallah, but I guess he wanted to stay active. I guess.
Yeah, you got to take the fights that you got on offer.
Yeah, but who do you have winning that fight? But if you know if Lockjaw does beat
Barber
Barber,
and Van Heerden.
no. So if he beats Barber, who do you have him versus who? How do you have Lockjaw versus Baeta going? If that fight happens.
Um, Oh no, he's got to get through Barber first.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Don't count out Barber. Barber's got that dog in him. He's there for the fight, and if he catches you, he catches you. But Van Heerden will probably just get on him and try and smother him and suffocate him. But yeah, I think Abdallah is good for that fight. If it gets to it.
Yeah. I guess you can't have a look past anyone. Yeah, Barber.
Yeah.
Barber, like you say, he does have that dog in him.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah. Anyway, is there any like sponsors or anything you want to shout out before we finish here?
No, not really. MA1 Combat for all your combat gear. If you need to get your car service, take it to UltraTune. Kia Warrnambool, best car dealership in the southwest. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Don't have that Nelk sponsor yet.
No,
Happy Dad
no
one?
Nelk deal yet.
Nah. I remember when you won the Dana White Contender Series. I remember you were like, you were like, I'm gonna go get me a Happy Dad and everything like that. And I thought like the sponsorship would have come soon after that, but
Well, I ended up playing golf with them. Played golf with Salim and a couple of the others, which was good. But no deal as of yet. Got to get a few more runs on the board.
yeah, no, definitely. But I'm sure it'll be coming your way eventually. I'm
Yeah,
sure you'll be on the Nelk podcast or something eventually if you go fight over in the States again.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, awesome. But thank you for your time. It was good to chat to you again. And yeah, good luck with whoever you fight. I'm sure I'll eventually, send you some random things about your opponent that Simon Carson will probably already have down, but I'll do
Yeah.
it anyway.
Oh well, the more help, the better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, cheers for your time.
All right, Benny. Thank you, mate. Appreciate talking to me. I'll talk to you
Catch up.
soon. All right,
Easy.
bye.
Catch up. Easy. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.